What do you have?
I'll tell you who I got. My Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers is pretty similar to yours. And you are missing somebody. You're missing a couple big ones. You're missing at least one major one. You're gonna jump in and change it, I feel like. So just let me get through mine, and then you can get into yours. But my Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers is as follows. Hulk Hogan. Obviously, it starts with Hulk Hogan. If your pro wrestling Mount Rushmore doesn't start with Hulk Hogan, I don't care how you feel about the guy and things, just horrible shit he said in the past, or maybe how bad his beer might taste. I don't know. I haven't tasted it yet. However you feel about Hulk Hogan, you cannot deny that without that dude, we're not even doing the Mount Rushmore Pro Wrestling because I don't even know if it fucking exists.
It doesn't.
So Hulk Hogan has got to go, and Hulk Hogan is on my Mount Rushmore Pro Wrestlers. He leads it off. I'm with you. The next guy on Mount Rushmore is The Undertaker. And I say The Undertaker, and this is such an easy one for me, not even because I wasn't even a huge Undertaker fan. I wasn't. But when you look at what pro wrestling is, it's number one, more than anything, it's about characters. I get it. In this day and age, we've began to lean more and more into like the real life wrestlers like that people enjoy, like a Daniel Bryan. You know, like more of like the common man. You know, he's not the biggest, he's not the tallest dude in the ring, and it's like, you know, David versus Goliath. You know what I mean? And there's a good amount of those guys now that have like regular Joe Schmo names and like people cheer for them. But deep down, pro wrestling is about characters, right? And that's how they were created. The Undertaker is the greatest character in the history of pro wrestling. And then when you add on like the length of time that his character was
real longevity,
was elite for, is insane. And then you go even deeper into it and you start to look at his old stuff like before he was even the Undertaker. And you're like, wow, this guy was around. I thought he was around forever, but he was around even longer than forever, right? So the Undertaker is a no-brainer for me. And I wasn't even the biggest Undertaker fan, but I'm willing to acknowledge greatness and longevity when I see it. And so you got Hulk Hogan, you got The Undertaker, and then I'm going with John Cena.
Okay. That's a good one.
John Cena's got to be up there.
Another longevity pick.
Got to be up there.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, Cena, who was, WrestleMania 20, I think was his first WrestleMania, maybe, at Madison Square Garden. And you look at that John Cena who was out there rapping. You look what he became over the years. I mean, he just main evented and main evented and main evented. And all the championships that he had. And now he is going to, in my opinion, win another championship at this year's WrestleMania, which will give him the most championships, right? In the history of the sport or sports entertainment. So John Cena is... like, it's a no-brainer for me to put him on the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. It's the final, and I teased this during the live stream. I said those three. I said Hogan, Undertaker, Cena. It's the fourth one where I'm like, damn. And I was thinking about this the last couple of days. Like, I could go in so many different directions, and there's so many different guys that you could throw out there and make an argument for to be on the Mount Rushmore that just probably won't make the cut. Only because there's somebody that just has something a little better than them or has been around a little longer than them. One of those guys that isn't going to make the cut for me, but it's like, man, how do I even justify this, is Ric Flair.
Yeah.
He's not on my Mount Rushmore.
The only reason he's not on mine is because I just missed so much of it. Like, I knew him when he came to WWF at that point. I really saw almost nothing before that.
Yeah, you didn't see NWA or WCW. I mean, you see it in later years.
Yeah, exactly.
When, like,
but at the time, he was just like an old guy coming almost when I first got.
Yeah.
So I missed it. I just missed that one. But I agree with you though. It's hard not to put him there, knowing everything that you know about the history of. He's been there forever, for decades.
Yeah, and again, he's done it all.
Yeah. He's the one who's seen who will be breaking the record.
Yeah, he's got the record. He's been around forever. He's got the promos. Yeah. He's the character. Like, so I'm kind of, and not putting him on is kind of contradicting, but I would never put him on before the other three. And then it's like, all right, if I take everything into account and where we're at with pro wrestling right now, and it's like, all right, how can I leave someone? Yeah, The Undertaker was at the Attitude Era, but do you think of The Undertaker when you think of the Attitude Era? I know I don't.
No.
He was in it.
Attitude Era, I think Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold.
I think The Rock. The Rock, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon. Triple H, DX.
Yeah.
Right? I think of DX. I think of Stone Cold. I think of The Rock. I mean, there's part of me that I think of like D'Lo Brown more than I do like some other people in the Attitude Era. Like, those are some guys that I think of, right? So it's like, how can I leave any of those guys out?
But then again, though, like the Attitude Era, we have that Mankind Undertaker match.
Yeah. Well, my fourth and final face on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. It pains me to say it, actually, because I'm leaving so many guys that I love off. But it just, I keep coming back to, this is a no-brainer, especially now with everything that's going on right now, it's got to be The Rock.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be The Rock. Because you talk about longevity, I mean, Nation of Domination, how long ago was that?
Yeah.
Then the Attitude Era. Then he came back and main evented 2 WrestleManias in a row, right? WrestleMania 28 and 29 against John Cena. He keeps coming back. He's back again in the storyline and wrestled at WrestleMania last year. He's going to be involved in the main event again this year. Shouldn't say again. Well, yeah, again.
Yeah.
This year. So how is he not up there? Yeah. All the things that I checked off, all those boxes, he checks off all those boxes. I mean, I went back and forth between The Rock and Stone Cold in that final spot.
Yeah.
It was a hard one. It was a tough decision because
the longevity,
Stone Cold
though,
is like, you talk about characters, but Stone Cold, like, and should I punish Stone Cold for
getting
neck
it fucked up
and knee injuries? I don't know. And then you get Shawn Michaels. Like,
that's the hardest one.
Who's a bigger fan than Shawn Michaels and me? Yeah. I'm Shawn Michaels' biggest fan in the history of the world. Nobody's a bigger fan of Shawn Michaels than me.
He's number 5 for me when I came down to do that. When I looked at the list, he asked, it's still number 5, still above Cena for me, because there was so many like dead
Shawn
years.
Michaels.
Yeah, because there was so many dead years. Like, I know Cena had longevity, but that was my least favorite WWE for most of his tenure, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah, hated it. I hated it. I would only come back for WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles at that point. So I missed such a long period.
I'm trying to make this pick and not be biased. Like, I don't think you want to pick your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers shouldn't be like the top 4 guys you like, because my Mount Rushmore would probably look like Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, who else would be on there? CM Punk, like I'd have him on there.
CM Punk's
and Brock Lesnar. Like, that would probably be like, if we're picking people. And by the way, Brock Lesnar was in my head because I'm like, longevity, an animal, championships, dominance.
They gave him
if
that
Undertaker's on there,
Undertaker
he
win.
Beat the Undertaker, ended the streak.
Wrong decision at the time, but that's fine.
Maybe for another time. But like, Lesnar's got to be in the conversation, right? And you got to just cut him off. But I wasn't picking the Mount Rushmore based on like who I liked more.
Well, I was
picking it based on like who I think has had a bigger impact on the craft, on the art form.
Yeah, but how did Cena do that though? Because Cena was a one note for such a long time. I don't know. I hated that WWE because it was the most watered down PG nonsense for 5, 6, 7 straight years. So I just can't. He's not above Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but without him during those times, what do you have?
I do agree that they also didn't have much then because they rode him to the ground. People hated Cena. And not in like the good way. Like people were really, I'm sick of
Yeah, he
seeing
would like
this.
go away heat. Is that what we call it? But that's what made it awesome.
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved it.
I love Cena, but
I mean, he's got
just,
the music. He's got.
yeah.
He's got the titles. He's been around forever. He's
no Shawn Michaels. So I could never put him above that. He's just no Shawn Michaels.
and again, I'm not.
Shawn Michaels had everything, storyline, and another guy who got cut short because of drugs and also injuries.
I know it's tough not to
Yeah.
put Shawn Michaels on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Believe me, I have Shawn Michaels T-shirts. I everything he does, I mimic in life. I super kick people all over the place.
Yeah.
My whole life, I've been doing that.
For me,
love Shawn
the
Michaels.
Shawn Michaels Stone Cold was the one I had to decide because I had The Rock.
But that you're digging into nostalgia when you make that pick. You're like, that's what really.
Well, no,
like-
but that was the Attitude Era.
yeah.
That was the Attitude Era more than The Rock. Like that,
I wouldn't say more
they
than The
started
Rock.
it. They started it.
DX, yeah.
The second DX was not as good as the first DX.
No. The first DX was the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
That was the Attitude Era because they were battling against the NWO. The Attitude Era stepped in. WWE.
And see,
needed
I'm looking at I'm saying like the second DX was the Road Dogg X-Pac. That's the second DX. I'm like the Shawn Michaels, China, like the very beginning of the.
Yeah.
That was that.
when Bret Hart was still involved. In it
Yeah.
all.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last days of the old.
I
era.
get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, look, Shawn Michaels is great. I'm not trying to knock him.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a tough conversation for me to have. I just think I'm also factoring in, like, you have to factor in popularity with pop culture. And Shawn Michaels is huge to, like, me and you.
Yeah.
Was he ever, like, the guy that...
Well, wrestling also wasn't.
Like, put it this way. If I go around right now and I started playing, like, Shawn Michaels theme music to people...
Yeah.
They might be like, "That? What are you, a fucking creep?
Yeah.
What is that?"
Yeah.
But if I played you like Stone Cold or The Rock,
Yeah.
or The Undertaker or Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
John Cena, like those are the things, the factors that I thought of when putting the Mount Rushmore together.
Yeah. It's not a bad pick. Like, I can't really argue against it, but it's just those years were just kind of dead for me. So it's almost like similar to the Ric Flair
But
thing.
you are not going to put Shawn Michaels on your Mount Rushmore.
That's like the Shawn Michaels Stone Cold one. I have to flip back and forth. I went with Stone Cold because of everything that he did with Vince after that Shawn Michaels period. And it, in a weird way, I think Vince should somehow be on this too, but I know it's like not really like, I really do like it because he's given us so much.
Well, yeah.
For so long.
No, hold on.
His storylines too.
Of course. He should be leading he should be the first one on it. The George Washington of,
Yeah.
Right? But that's not what we're doing. We're doing like the actual wrestlers themselves.
Yeah.
The actual guys that got into it to be wrestlers, not the guys that started the company and then jumped into storylines.
Yeah.
I get it.
That's why I would never.
Without Vince McMahon, this thing doesn't exist at all.